So hello everybody. I'm so happy to be here with another Desde la Cima podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, one person that I admire since the very beginning because of the work and the projects that she has in the community. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you, Rocio. Thank you for having me here. I'm
So
excited.
Rachel is the CEO of Collectiva. She is a cultural arts advocate and also a Latino community advocate. As part of the project that she's been developing, she was part of Calaveras in Mi Ciudad, an exhibit that you can still go and see and enjoy in different parts of Colorado. She will explain us a little bit more about it. She was also part of the Colorado Day of the Dead 2020, and the feria, she is hosting a feria of the tequila with more than 8 brands of tequila and mezcal that are coming to Raíces. So it is an honor to have you with us, Rachel. Thank you so much one more time for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you again. Yes.
Okay, so Rachel, I want to know, and I know that everybody here wants to know more about who the beautiful Rachel is. So
Thank you.
where are you from originally? Where are you? Who are you?
So originally, I was born in Ohio. My family, they were from Texas. My mom's parents and my dad's parents are from Tamaulipas, Mexico. And so they were in Ohio, both sets of families working as migrant farm workers in the 60s and 70s. And I won't say when I was born, but I was born in Ohio. And then my family moved to Denver when I was 4 years old. My dad had some family here, and it was just the best decision for the family. So I've been in Denver since I was four. Um,
Uh-huh.
from there, from there, I went to school in Westminster. But I feel like I grew up around North Denver because all of my family was there, and so many of my friends' families were there. So I spent a lot of time in the North Side, as it was called then. And I just really was exposed to Latino culture, really Mexican culture, through those connections because it's not something that I had growing up in Westminster, which when I was growing up was predominantly white. And so it wasn't something that I had exposure to. And it was something that I just really connected with. Obviously, it's my roots. And so it makes sense now as an adult to look back and see, of course, you had a connection. Of course, you had an affinity for those things because I didn't, I hadn't had exposure. So through that, I really just gained a love for the arts. And I also was exposed to more, I would call it variety of people, people who needed more than, say, the people that I was used to, a little more support through, being new immigrants to the country or to actually people that were doing volunteer work and community service work, which wasn't a big deal where in my school, in my high school, we weren't, I mean, there were people that did it like with their church groups and things, but unless you had some connection to it, it wasn't something that just was readily available. So through my friendships and through me spending time in different parts of Denver, I became more involved with that. And I found out that there were ways to engage and be part of the community through service to the community. And so that was kind of how that ball kind of got rolling for me. And I started as a volunteer a lot for the immigrant and refugee communities. My Spanish was terrible back then, and it's better now, but not perfect. But I wanted to learn because that was who I was around a lot. So there was a lot of new immigrants from Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala. And so I wanted to be able to communicate. And so I decided in college to learn how to speak Spanish. And I was like determined to do it. And so I did. But then I never practiced. And so it's only been recently that I've been trying to do that a little more because I have my friends, most of them communicate in Spanish as their first language. And so I feel like it's just more respectful to communicate with them in their native language. And I try, but I don't want to butcher it. But getting back to who I am, getting back to him, that's kind of how I got started in the cultural arts realm, the cultural arts world here, and where I gained my connections to those things. And from there, I got a degree in business management with an emphasis in entrepreneurship. And I put myself through school and worked for a design build firm, which means I do construction and architecture, general contracting and architecture for commercial projects. And I did that for many, many years. And I rose in the ranks till I was the operations manager, director of operations. And what that generally means is I ran the business side of the company. So everything from contracts to insurance to bonds to basically anything staff. And I left there last year in April, and I decided to pursue, oh no, it was June. In June, I decided to pursue more passion projects. So as the years went on and I developed my leadership skills and realized that I could be more to the community than just a volunteer, I started to really engage in board service and doing things that were fundraisers and making money for artists so that they could do work, and for other organizations so that they could carry forth their work. And through that, I have been on the board of the Mexican Cultural Center for 8 years, and I'm currently the vice chair. I'm the chair of Artistico, which is a new ballet folklorico company in Colorado. They're amazing. And I formed with a group of friends, Collectiva. So that is my background.
I love it.
I'll give you a second to talk.
No. I think it's beautiful. Thank you for telling us the whole story, because I think it's beautiful. And I have a question about that. And it is, when did you realize that you were Latina and what happened? Because it was, I mean, from the background that you are describing, it is easy to just stay inside of the white community and just believe that you are white, and that's okay. I mean, that's another universe with other possibilities. But how was the process for you?
Well, I never believed I was white. I always knew I was different because I'm very brown. You know, I'm very brown. My last name is Garcia, and my family spoke Spanish, and at home we ate different foods. You know, I always knew that I wasn't like everybody else. I just didn't have, in those communities I was living in and growing up, we didn't have the other Los Muertos celebrations. We didn't have posadas. I didn't go to Catholic church, so we didn't have the traditional, you know, those things, like the Navidad, like the rosaries, the special masses and things that are held, unless I went with friends. And when I started to go with my friends for like a weekend, there would be quinceañeras, and there would be weddings, and there would be more culture, things that I had never really experienced because my friends didn't have quinceañeras, you know, my friends had sweet 16 parties and things like that. And my mom was very, very overprotective. My parents were both very overprotective. So I wasn't allowed to spend the night anywhere or go anywhere until I was probably 13 or so. So that was probably when I started to get more exposure to more things. And we did have a lot of family here. So I wouldn't say like I never had exposure. We did go to a church, and it was primarily Spanish was spoken in the church, but to the kids, they spoke to us in English. So it was kind of one of those things that was like, they should have kept it all Spanish, so we would have learned. But, you know, my parents are from the generation that they were ridiculed and they were mistreated for being first generation Mexican immigrants in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So to them, you know, even the word Chicano was offensive, even like they didn't want to be anything but Mexican American or Hispanic, the way that they identified, right? And so for them, they didn't want us to learn Spanish. They didn't think it was important. They didn't think we'd ever need it, which now in hindsight, they see that they made a mistake and they wish that they had taught us, you know, Spanish. So, but it's one of those things, and I hear my story, similar stories a lot, where it's like my parents didn't want me to know Spanish. My grandparents only spoke Spanish, you know, and so we found ways to communicate. But it's interesting that it's not until I left my family that I found my people, you know, like my
Your
community.
tribe.
Yes, and my the things that I just automatically loved. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, you know, like. And so we didn't have quinceañeras. I have 2 sisters. We didn't have quinceañeras or anything either, but we each in our own way found our connections with our community. And so, you know, a lot of it had to do with giving back, and a lot of it had to do with finding out that there were people who were like, you know, they didn't have the things that we had, and they just needed a little help, mentoring or, you know, interpreting or whatever it was. And so through those things, Rocio, is how I figured out, like, this is a whole community of people that are beautiful and wonderful and not given the same access to things that I was given. So how can I use what I have and my privilege to open doors for other people. And that was what was important to me.
I love it. And I love how you resonate and how you were able to embrace and accept that you were embraced by this community, because it is kind of like two ways. You were able to love it, embrace it, but also get all in. So people started embracing you and loving you. Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't without controversy, or I'm not sure what the word would be, but it's, even now I say this, like, when I say I'm Mexican in front of a group of Mexicans, they say, no, you're not. You're American. And I'm like, okay, I understand, like, by birth and nationality, yes. But I feel like I am culturally Mexican, right? Like like I said, we ate different things growing up than the rest of my friends and all of that. But then, the American people, as I'm sure maybe this resonates with you, I'm not sure, but it's like they definitely see me as different. I'm definitely not just an American to them, right? And so I decided a long time ago to find my spot that I felt comfortable in and just be okay with that, to say I'm both. I'm from two worlds and they collide a lot, but when I'm immersed in either world, I feel just at home in one as I do in another, which is something that I think a lot of Latinos struggle with. Feeling at home in spaces where they don't see themselves represented, and feeling at home in spaces that are predominantly Anglo or American, or where only English is spoken. And I get that, I understand that. But what I would like to do for people is to let them know you can take up that space. You don't need their permission. You don't need anything but your beautiful self to show up and be there. And, I'm here to stand with you and to make you feel more comfortable doing that.
I totally love what you're saying and resonate with what you are saying in terms of I decided to find my spot and being comfortable there. Because
Yes.
as you mentioned, it is hard for us as immigrants we have our legs in two worlds and
Yes.
none at the same time.
Right.
So when you say like, yeah, I'm different here, but I'm not Mexican either. So but I decided I'm Colombian. That makes it even harder.
Yes.
But I
Because we
decided
don't have very many Colombians, I know.
exactly.
Yes.
But I decided like, yeah, I am Latina and I feel really comfortable in this space, even if I'm not Mexican.
Exactly. And I love that too, Rocio, because I know from experience, like, if people will think you're Mexican automatically if you speak Spanish in Colorado, right? And I love that in our world, because we have a lot of mutual friends, you and I love that we have so many people from so many different countries and they're not offended by that and they just embrace it. And they're like, let me invite you to something we're doing. Let me invite you to the Peruvian festival. Let me invite you to the Venezuelan, like it's Venezuelan. I'm sorry. There's all these things that we're doing in art. We're not a monolith, right? We're not a monolith and we should never be seen that way, but it is the way that sometimes we're seen. So I love that through our communities, we're still able to maintain our own identities and support each other. Because I love, we did the Colombian Independence Day Festival at the rooftop this summer, which was, we're Mexicans like trying to help organize this, but it was a lot of fun. And we had Julio Martinez and his dance group, and they were amazing. And we had Nico playing, Colombians who are in the United States who want to still engage in their culture. And that to me is beautiful. And like I said, whether it's them or any of our other friends who are doing these things, I feel like it's so important to maintain our roots and pass them on and educate people and share that this is something that's important to us to do this,
I love it. And yeah, and also I think I am lucky to be in this state where we have so many different cultures, so many different Latinos, and a big Mexican community, because I have to say that their food is amazing and they're amazing people. So I'm more than lucky to enjoy them, to be able to be here and to get to know many of them and enjoy their culture and feel like, yeah, I'm Mexican. When they say like, are you Latina Mexican? Yeah, sure. So like, I don't even engage in the fight of, no, I'm Colombian. No, yeah, I'm totally cool. I'm totally cool, because it is a culture that it is so rich that I'm more than happy to be welcomed by that community as well.
And
Okay.
I also too, like, I just wanted to say really quickly, like, how I'm learning still. I'm still learning as I get a new friend, as I get a new Colombian friend. And Xiomara, for instance, Xiomara has the empanadas, and like I'm learning, the things that I think are so important. Like food is so vital, right, to our communities. And so for somebody to invite you to eat their traditional food, and for somebody to say, this is something I made special from my heart for you, to me is the best thing you could ever have, the best invitation I can ever receive. So I love that. Like, I'm still learning, what people from different regions of Colombia eat, or people from different regions of Honduras with Edwin, and so there's like all these things that are like so amazing and part of our culture, where it may not be my specific culture, but I embrace that it's Latino culture, and that means we're all primos in some way. And, to me, that's beautiful. Yeah.
You're right. We are a family somehow. We are
Yes.
connected somehow. I love your love for the arts. And I really think that we needed a person like you who were able to connect all the arts, the culture from different countries and from different backgrounds, and make it visible in a different way. So how was Collectiva born, and what is your role? I know that you are the CEO, but how did you make Collectiva, or did you put Collectiva where it is now? Because I know that it is a Collectiva, it is a collective of organizations, but without you, you are the power or the powerhouse for that organization. So tell us about Collectiva. What is it?
Thank you. Thank you. So Collectiva, we are a collective of creatives. It basically means everybody has their own gig, right? Their own main thing that they're doing. Um, and we came together. We're really a group of friends. So it consists of Alfonso Meraza and Jose Rosales, who have a group called Artistico, who I mentioned earlier. They have a ballet folklorico company, and they teach traditional Mexican dance. Um, and they perform. They're professional performers. So they both came out of the Ballet Folklorico de Amalia Hernandez in Ciudad Mexico, and they were both principal dancers. So they were the top of their game when they left there. And so they left because one of them, Jose, injured himself, and he couldn't continue with his dancing until he rehabbed. So they ended up back in Colorado, and we're so lucky to have them here. And they're married, and so they're great friends of mine. So it's those two. And then we also have Edwin, who is a chef. He's from Honduras originally. And he has a cooking concept that's called Catrucho. And he has a restaurant right now in Enigma Bazaar, which is on 38th and Tennyson. And he is just amazing with all things cuisine. And then we have Jesus. I was going to call him Chewy because that's what we all call him, but Jesus. Who is he's our agave spirits expert. So one of the very important things about our culture, I think, is we do have this amazing spirit. There's, not more than one really, because it's from the maguey plant. We get tequila, we get mezcal, we get raicilla, we get these really amazing drinks that are alcoholic, but there's a beauty to it. There's a tradition to it. There's every tequila that is produced, or mezcal that is produced, comes from one region in Mexico, and every plant is from that region. And it is mind-blowing when you think about how many brands there are out there, and how many things are out there, and things we don't even have in the United States. But so for that reason, we wanted Chewy to be part of it, because he is the expert on this, because he's attended all of these courses and learned all of this stuff about it, and he makes amazing drinks. He also owns Tres Margaritas, Broomfield. It's a family-owned business, and so you can find him there. And he has also a tech company, which is super amazing, called Chamba. And it's an app that is in Spanish. It's a Spanish language app. It's bilingual, but it's focused on Spanish speaking people. And it connects Spanish speaking job seekers to employers, people that are looking for jobs. And so that is one of Chewy's projects as well. And so last we does some other things too, but last we have Alexis Newton, and she is a connector, community connector. She's been around for a long time in the art space as well, which is how I know her. And she is a person who, you know, if you need to know someone, she probably knows them, or she knows someone that knows someone. She and I are similar in that regard, because we've been around for a long time and we've really built our relationships that way. And so I said last is Alexis, but I'm actually last. And so you guys know my background. And the role that I take in Collectiva is really building the brand and really putting us out there and letting people know we are a force to be reckoned with. And how did we form was we were always just kind of complaining, Rocio, about like, oh, you know, we're tired of seeing non-Mexicans, non-Latinos profit off of our culture. And what I mean by that is for instance, there's taco festivals in town, and they are not put on by a single Latino, let alone Mexican. And they're expensive to attend, and they're tacos and tequila. They tout themselves as experts and the most authentic, and you know, things like that. But I question that when it's not being put on and there are no consultants of color or Latinos or Mexicans or people who have the real access to traditional things. And so not just me, but all of us, as we're friends and we were hanging out during the pandemic, you know, through Zooms or whatever it was we were doing, we were talking about these things, like what can we do? How do we move the needle? How do we change that formula? You know, because we deserve to, not only do we deserve to be the ones putting on those events and participating in those things, but really the community deserves to have that. They deserve to have events put on by their own people for them. And so, you know, we would complain about it a lot. It was a real topic of conversation, as you can imagine, among a group of creatives. And it came up on a trip that we were on, and I said, you know, guys, we're the ones that can do this. And, you know, I think Jose Rosales was the one that was like, yeah, we can do, like, he was the one that really kind of pushed us and had this grand idea. And so what we decided to do was, you know, just to join forces to reclaim our cultural heritage and to demonstrate also to our creative commitment to understanding that they're creatives and they're artists and that they should be paid what they're worth. That's the second part of it. Because so often, you know, like I said, our culture is appropriated and then it's sold back to us. So it's like, that's not building generational wealth for Latinos. That's not taking us to the next level. That's lining somebody else's pockets. And I don't begrudge people for making money. I mean, tacos are delicious. Everybody should eat them. But, you know, I'm like, at least invite us, at least include us, at least have something, not necessarily Collectiva, but somebody who is an expert in that area, who wants to help and wants to be part of it. And yeah, also the other part was, you know, we're just fed up with our culture being watered down and sold back. You know, it's like, no, we're not just piñatas and, you know, cheap tequilas and Cinco de Mayo. No, there's a beauty with the folklorico, by the way. You know, it's the dance, the traditional dance, and each country has its own traditional dance. I don't know if people know that in Colorado. I feel like they think folklorico, they think Mexican, but that's not the case. It's every country has their own folkloric dance, and there is a quality and a beauty that comes with the education and the long hours of practice and dedication and, you know, really being disciplined that makes a professional dance company what it is, right? And so I love that in Colorado we have the Cleo Parker Robinson, who is a professional dance company who is providing Black and African American identifying people with their own culture, and you can come see the Granny show on Christmas, and, you know, go see traditional African dance and all of these things. But we don't, I feel like folklorico groups in Colorado and in Denver aren't always given the same prestige. They're not always seen as the professional group. And so I think that Artistico is really changing that in terms of, we are artists, we are here, we are going to teach you if you want your kids to learn. We're going to bring this into the next generation, and we're going to provide the discipline and all of the things that make it professional versus just for fun, just for fun groups. And those groups are fine too. We need them as well. But I think that there's a little bit of retraining that needs to happen with our community, that we need to learn how to appreciate our arts and our artists a little bit better in terms of payment and in terms of really supporting them, and more than just going to 1 or 2 events a year, but saying, hey, these guys have 4 performances a year. I'm going to dedicate to go to 2, or I'm going to make sure to send them, they're a nonprofit, send them some money so that they can buy their costumes or whatever it is that they need, to educate it, to pay for a child's tuition or whatever it is that speaks to you. But that's, I know I got a little off topic, but that's really what Collectiva is about. It's about appreciating the arts and the artists as individuals, the creatives that are in there. Some people don't consider themselves artists. I don't consider myself an artist, but I am a creative in that I'm a writer, and that I have a way with words, and people know, like, if they need something written, or they can call me, and I will hear what they say, and then I will put it into words that are more professional, or that sound the way that they wanted them to. They makes them sound the way they wanted to come off. And so there's things like that that are so needed in our community, and it's something I took for granted for a long time. Like I said, this is one of those things that's my privilege, that I had an affinity for writing, or I had an affinity for the English language and for learning vocabulary and all of that stuff that really I'm using now, and I have always used in my professional career. But it was something that I just took for granted for a long time. I told you before, Rocio, that I was like, everybody can do this. What are you this? There's nothing special about this thing that I have, and that's something that you and I talked about it, and you actually helped me see, no, it's not. That's your special gift. That is something that you can share with people. And it's not just that, but the other things that I am getting good at, or that I am good at, and you helped me to understand that, embrace those things and really use them for the greater good, not just for myself, not to make money, to line my pocket, but to really help people with whatever they need. And as I mentioned before, because I do have a lot of connections and friends and things that are English isn't their first language, and to me, they can say it to me in Spanish and I'll write it for them in English. And it's, because I always think the Spanish language sounds so much more beautiful no matter what it is. But there's ways to make things beautiful, and there's ways to make even business correspondence beautiful, and protest letters and things like that. So that's something that I've kind of found my niche, and I've been trying to use that through Collectiva as well, to build our brand and to make us known in the community, because our power and our influence is greater when we work together, no matter who it's with, right?
Yes, and I'm taking many notes, because what you're saying is so beautiful that I don't know where to start.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to start with the last sentence. We are more powerful when we are together, and I think I totally agree. And I've seen it through the work that all of you are doing. And I think I'm going to go through different parts of what you said to use them. One is the reclaim our cultural heritage, and I think we needed a collectiva, we needed a group to do it, because before that it was informal. It was here and there. It was one group or another, but not to the level that you Collectiva and Artístico are putting this to the top. Like you are moving the needle in terms of arts, and I feel you make me feel so proud of being Latina, but also all the arts that we have, that I feel almost in tears when I talk to you, and anytime that I have the possibility. I don't have a lot of time, but anytime that I have the possibility to see you in action, it's just so beautiful to see how the level of quality is also going up. Anytime that I see Artístico with the presentations, I'm talking about, we don't just dance, don't tokenize us. We are not just this music, Mexican music or tacos, as you said. We are chefs, we are professional dancers, and we are taking our art to the next level. And I think that's what you are giving back to the community, and I really appreciate it. And I think that's what is making Artístico and Collectiva different, different, not just a group of dance, not just a group that is dancing for Cinco de Mayo or for El Grito, or no, it is a group of professional artists putting all your superpowers as yours, which is writing, but it is also a superpower, and putting them together and making them higher. Like, this is who we really are. This is who we are all together. And I love that, all that work. We can see it now, and we can see it as a unity now, not different groups dancing here and there. So I really appreciate that. And just being Colombian, even though I am just Colombian, I am also Latina, and I feel so powerful, and I feel so happy, and I feel so well represented when I see you taking our art to the next level and making it for all of us, giving it back to the community for all of us, but in a different and more and higher professional way. So thank you. I don't know if you see this, but I see it, and I am able to appreciate it.
That means so much. Really, that means so much to us coming from you, who is, you know, that was one of the fears that I had just personally, was like, I don't want to just focus on one thing or one, you know, I've been involved with the Mexican Cultural Center. I love them. I love the organization. I love our mission. I love that we have brought the Mexican culture to the forefront, and it's something to be proud of, and that we don't have to hide in the shadow and be, you know, we had a rough time being Latinos, right? When we had a president who didn't like us and who talked badly about us and who made us feel less than, right? But I really, as my community grows, and as I make friends with new people, and as I see there's so many beautiful traditions that each of the countries have that most people don't even know about, you know. So I really appreciate you saying that you appreciate that about Collectiva, because it is one of our things that we don't want to be pigeonholed or seen as a monolith, because we're not. And I think having the different cultures and the different connections and collaborators, because we also have, I forgot to mention this, we have muralists and artists who are um, collaborating with us. Norberto Morjardin, who does the largest altar in the country for Dia de los Muertos, is one of our collaborators, and he is a fashion designer. He is a hairstylist. He can do makeup. He can do anything, you know, and he's he's somebody that we need to amplify and say, here is this man who's been doing this for 25 years, kind of under the radar and behind the scenes. And if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. But no, Beto needs to be on a national stage as, you know, saying, look at this amazing stuff that we have. Look at this amazing art that we have. And this creative who's doing everything. Like he pretty much can do anything, you know, and he's one. And then we have Julio Mendoza, who he goes by Jules in his artist name, but he's one of our muralists. He is from Denver, but he grew up in Juarez. You know, that's his family's from Juarez, but he is the most humble, most amazing person that, you know, like to connect with, and to be able to help him and to elevate his art and to introduce him to new audiences is so fulfilling, because of his kind nature and his the beautiful person that he is, you know. And that's true with so many of the people that we're working with. It's like, I don't want to work with people who are already big, and not that I don't want to work with them, but I don't need to elevate them in the same way that I would when it's people who are really, they just don't know the right people, or they just don't have the connections, or the you know, it's things like pricing their art, or being able to pay for rent, to be able to do art full time. And those are things that are so important to me, because I really feel through the pandemic, we learned more than ever how important the arts are. Um, when we were all sitting at home with, you know, the sky's falling, we don't know what's going to happen. You know, people started to watch documentaries, and they started to, whether they were kind of silly ones or whatever, it doesn't matter, because someone made that. That's someone's creation. Someone had the idea. Somebody had the wherewithal to make the documentary and to put it out to the world. And so, to me, the arts are what kept us alive, and were what are bringing us back to life. You know, it's something that to be a part of is really privilege. And I understand that because a lot of people, I hear that a lot from a lot of people. It's like, oh, it'd be great if I could put my kids in the arts, but we don't have it at the schools. We don't have art classes. We don't have dance classes. We don't have access to this. So those are the things that I know and that we hope as a collective to change, that to kind of make those things a little more accessible, but also to elevate and amplify the people that are already doing it, you know, that are already, they just need something. And sometimes it's one thing, sometimes it's 100 things. But how do we connect them with the person or the money or the whatever they need, the resource they need to keep our culture alive, one, and also to keep us alive as human beings, to have that connection, to see a work of art, a mural, or to hear a song, or to read a poem and be so moved is something that we're so blessed to be able to do those things. And so that's really important. And it's something that, yes, I agree with you. We need those things to be able to amplify and move our culture, our arts, our people forward, and to say, hey, we are here, you know, and like I said earlier, like we are going to take this space. We don't need your permission anymore. And that's something that I think it's something we struggle with as Latinos. You know, you and I are both fellows of the LLI, the Latino Leadership Institute. And one of the best exercises we did was standing in our power. And what does that look like? And power posing and saying to the world, this is me, you know, you're not going to mispronounce my name. You're not going to call me Rocio, you know, like you're going to say Rocio. You're going to try to roll your R's, you know? I love those sessions where we were granted the permission to be us. Because although we're older, you know, I'm older and I've been around for a long time, sometimes I feel like we do shrink ourselves. We do dull our light. We do dim ourselves so that other people feel more comfortable. And we code switch, right? We go from, we're with our Latino friends and we're, you know, Latina, we're very Latina. And then we go, we're in the white world, so we're very proper and very different. That's silly. We can be ourselves wherever we are without it being a cartoon version of ourselves. You know what I mean? And so I think that's so important to, like, through the arts, I think we can help facilitate that. People owning their power, owning themselves, seeing themselves. Representation is so huge, as we all know. You know, for my daughter, she's 6 and she dances folklorico now with artistico, and I love it. She loves it. But you know, the day that she decides that's not for her and she wants to do something else, we'll explore that, because she's, you know, if it's something that Latinos aren't typically in, I need her to know that's okay too. She can do that too.
Beautiful. And again, I'm taking many notes of what you are saying. And I think because all the work that Collectiva is doing during these last 2 years or year and a half, we are able to see more clear all the local artists that before were invisible. And I think that's amazing. That's amazing. And it is because it's like raising the voices of the local artists that before they were invisible, or they were trying their best to be visible their own way, but just getting together as a collectiva or as a collectivo or working together is how we can see the whole movement. And I love that. I love how you are raising the voices of the local artists. You mentioned Norberto Mojardin, and without any hesitation, I have to say that he's one of the biggest artists that I've seen, and being able to create Latin Fashion Week, like just that, just the creativity to do it, but also all the work that he and his team put on to put together the whole Latin Fashion Week and do it again. I think just something that we have to, as you said, we are not asking for permission and events like this. It's like we are reclaiming our land and our culture and making it visible no matter what. This is who we are, and we need to embrace who we are, and we need to be and feel proud of who we are, and of our brown skin, and I feel amazing. Like I love my brown skin because it makes me different. It makes me the Latina that I am. I don't want to be white at all. I don't have anything against the white community. I just love our community. I love who we are. And I think you are doing that. You are giving us the permission to stop asking for permission, if I can use both at the same in the same sentence, and to embrace and be proud of who we are from using the culture and the arts to do that. And I think that's beautiful, and I think it's unique. And I think, as you said before, we don't need to go to work with big artists because we have them here. We do have them. And I love that all the passion and the effort and the work that you, particularly you, are putting on to put together a collectivo of people doing this. So, and from that line, I want to jump into, have you ever feel like this is really hard and about to quit? And what did you do?
Yes, I feel like that quite a bit actually. Not because of the end product or the events or the work itself, but because there's a lot of barriers that are put up in the arts. I think anybody that works in the arts will tell you that. Um, in terms of funding, that's always a really big thing. And right now, we've been fortunate that there's a lot of COVID grants available for individuals and artists. So, you know, while it's hard to sit down with a computer and really be like, focus, okay, I'm going to find the grants and then I'm going to apply for them. And then I'm going, you know, but they exist right now. And so, but there's been times when we just keep being told no, you know, and we just, Norberto is actually a good example of being told no, but he just keeps persisting, right? Um, because he's going to figure it out. He's going to do it, and he will find the money, or he will figure out a way to um, fund his projects. And a lot of it comes from his other business, which is his hair styling business. But for me, there's been a lot of times when I will say bureaucracy or naysayers or people who just don't believe, they just don't have the mindset that I have said, what are you, how are you guys going to make money? Like they come to you with these, honestly, they're logic. It's logic. It's things that are like, you know, that doesn't make sense to me. Why would you spend time doing work on arts? And I hear a lot like arts is for the privileged. Arts is only for people who can afford it. But I don't have that outlook, because in working with the Mexican Cultural Center, that is our number one, that has been our number one mission, is to provide access to the arts in spaces that people don't normally have access to. So school children, providing them access to the Denver Art Museum, providing them access to the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, where normally they go once a year with their school. We have the Dia de los Niños and, you know, other Dia de los Muertos events there for kids. And so that's one of our major one of the major missions that we have, and I've seen it in action and I see that it works. So for me, I have been told a lot of negative things, and there's a lot of naysayers. And in those moments, it hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened where I want to say, like, maybe they're right. Maybe this isn't the right path for me right now. And what am I doing? And I have to take a moment of self-reflection. But then at the end of the day, I move forward because I remember the joy that I felt when I first started to feel like I belonged in a different community, and a community that embraced me and understood me. And we were all different versions of brown, but we were all brown, you know? And so to me, being part of something, that kind of discovery for a child or for even a grown up, is worth it. It's worth it to have that impact on people and be able to say, this is us, you know? So, but I wanted to give up in terms of, you know, sometimes it just gets really difficult to deal with, like I said, bureaucracy, red tape, people who don't believe in the same things we believe, people who think culture, Latino culture in particular, is, I will say, like low rent or less than or somehow beneath them. And they voice it. You know, there's people are pretty bold. You'd be surprised, like the things people will say, like, oh, that, you know. So it's kind of weird. But those are the kinds of things that sometimes feel hard. Coming up with sponsorships, you know, sometimes is hard, and finding people who want to invest in the arts. and see the value of it. You know, those things get difficult. And then finding the time to be a mom full time, and to it's not even a balance. It's just finding the time to do everything that we have to get done in a short time frame, to do event after event, or to support another artist, or to do the things that are instrumental to our work, but also to remember, hey, I'm a mom, guys. You know, like I can't be out all the time, and I can't be doing everything all the time. But you know, and to maintain our relationships, our friendships, our things that are outside of the work, but that are still super important to me. You know, my relationships and my friendships are the most important thing to me. And so to know that I'm not just alienating everybody so I can focus on work is also important to me. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to fight the background noise here today.
Oh.
So yeah, I think you were saying something that resonates to me, and it is this idea that art is for the privileged, but we many times forget that we are the privileged creating the art, that it is our art.
Yes.
So it is our privilege as well. We are the creatives one. We are the ones who own it. This is ours.
Yes.
So as you mentioned before, don't sell it back to us because it is ours. So it is time to reclaim it and to own our own power and our own art. And I think that's our privilege, and we have to use it as well. And you are saying another thing that is beautiful, and it is the connection with the joy, this joy that reminds you that, okay, I have to keep pushing. Yes. I can't quit now. I have to keep pushing because this is not easy. Yes. This is not an easy land. It's not easy in general. So we all have to keep pushing. So thank you for those beautiful words. We really appreciate that. And I think it's a blessing to have you as the motor that moves the whole process.
Thank you.
Yeah, because as I was saying, you are making us visible. You are helping us to understand that that's our privilege, and we deserve to be seen, and we deserve to embrace it and to love it and to enjoy it. It's ours. So thank you for that in the name of the whole Hispanic community and the Mexican community that I'm part of now.
You know, and one thing that I want to say too, Rocio, about that is these are traditions that go back to the Indigenous people, the Indigenous individuals in the countries where our families come from. Those are our forefathers. Dia de los Muertos, for instance, is 3,000 years old, dates back to the Aztecs and the Toltecs and the Maya, you know, and so those are things that, yes, it's changed a little, but moving forward, that's pre-colonization, and that's something that we should be so proud of, that those are really our Indigenous roots. We come from royal bloodlines, we come from mathematicians and scientists, and more than just the arts, but we need to reclaim that and remember that that's who we are too. We're not just people that are new immigrants that have to take the most menial jobs that are available to us, because it's easy to fall into that if we don't remember where we came from. So that's another reason that the arts are so important to me, because it does bring out the things that are ancient, you know, in our minds, but they're still in our blood. They're still there.
And it is our responsibility to make it visible, and to show others that we can't give up now. This is our time, and we are the ones making it visible. Nobody's going to give us anything. At least that's what I believe. If we don't do it, if we don't create it, nobody's going to create it for us or going to give us anything. We have to take it and make it ours and embrace it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wow, no, this is amazing. Rachel Garcia, you are amazing. Thank you so much for being you. Thank you for being so beautiful and for being so brilliant, so smart, and for putting the effort. And please do not give up. There is more coming. And this is just the beginning, and it is an amazing beginning. I know that it is a tough beginning, but also an amazing beginning. And it's been just I know that it sounds minimalist, 1 year and a half. But in 1 year and a half, you have done, I don't know, you have represented us, and you have done what many years ago we haven't done. So thank you so much for that, and please keep it up.
Thank you, Rocio. And thank you too. You know, I know that your podcast and your Latinas Líderes and the projects that you're working on are so important to our community too, because you too are shining the spotlight on people who don't often get it, you know, and you're saying it's good to be you. Look at how amazing you are. Look what you're doing. And really creating those role models and those mentors for us, even as adults. Like I still need mentorship, right? And so I really want to say thank you to you for that, because I love everything you do. I'm the biggest fan, as you know, but it brings me joy to know that there's people like you doing the work you're doing to elevate us as well. So thank you.
Wow, beautiful. High five.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Well, where can people find you?
So people can find us this Friday at the Feria de Tequila. We'll be at Raíces from 5 to 9. Tickets are available on Eventbrite if you just put Feria de Tequila. I think you can also, that we also have a Facebook page, Feria de Tequila, and an Instagram, and they're both just Feria de Tequila. Other than that, we're thinking about the next exhibit, which I think will be in the middle of December for Collectiva. And then you can find us on Instagram at Collectiva and also on Facebook.
Okay, please.
Calaveras en Mi Ciudad also has its own, I think we didn't really touch too much on it, but Calaveras en Mi Ciudad also has its own Instagram and Facebook page.
Please, people, if you have not done this, go and check Facebook, Instagram, Calaveras en Mi Ciudad, Latin Fashion Week, Artístico, Collectiva, and Rachel Garcia, because you have to follow her. If you don't know Rachel, you are missing out so much about the culture. So thank you. Is there anything else that you want to invite the community now?
You know, I think that's really what we have going on, but I will let you know, Rocio, for your newsletters and things, and you can share those out if you'd like the next events that are coming up.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, so this has been Desde la Cima with Rachel Garcia. Thank you so much for your time today and all for all this enormous effort that you are putting into Collectiva, because we can see it. It's not invisible at all, and you are doing it. Thank you. And thank you all for connecting Desde la Cima, for being connected with the podcast. And please, if you haven't done it, give us the like, share it with the community, because we need to keep raising the voices of the Hispanic community. See you in our next chapter.